What's going on YouTube? It's Bandwagonbam here with the Wagon. We are reacting to something very, very different real quick. Obviously, I know the channel's into like gangsters and criminals and theft and robberies and killings and whatever you want to say, kidnappings, I don't know them. But so yeah, we are reacting to top 10 richest criminal organizations, yeah, in the world. As I said, do you think the BBGs are going to be on it?
No, why would he be on it?
Huh? What do you mean, bro? There's someone out there like that watches the channel that's got bare bread. They could, like, there's definitely millionaires. But she ain't got mills. You're bumming me, chill. But yeah,
You're not really there either.
who?
You.
I know I'm a billionaire, chill. But let's run this one up.
Party, I snuck a night up in that party. I just fucking built the party. I bought the weed and the stick.
It is no easy feat to be a criminal, but it's even harder to run a criminal organization. You and I have heard of the mafia, the yakuza, the drug cartels, institutions of extreme illegality operating on core business principles. Some of them have become more profitable than Wall Street. And in this video, I'm going to be shining a light on them. What are the 10 richest criminal organizations this world has ever seen? Number 10. The Medellin Cartel. If the Medellin Cartel still existed today, it would definitely be at the top of the list, because at its prime, this drug-dealing organization was easily the most powerful and most coordinated drug cartel in Colombia, and most of the world. It was
All of these, I guarantee all of these places are going to be Colombians. All the time, man, 'cause that's where all the proper drugs come from, Colombia.
I find that extremely racist.
You can't find it racist, it's the truth. Whenever there's like stuff going on, it's from Colombia.
So I'm not gonna go Colombia. Flip.
Maybe
Maybe
not.
fuck no, he's there, dude.
They do. They do. No, that's a sick. That's a sick man. Interview? Would it be interview? Documentary. Sick, man. Like they literally have sex with donkeys, bro. Like they prefer it more than women. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why.
was so notorious that the US considered it a semi-terrorist organization. And for the uninitiated, the Medellin Cartel was founded by none other than Pablo Escobar. The name Pablo...
Oh, so I didn't know that's where Donnie came from. The Medellin cartel. I didn't know that.
I never knew Pablo Escobar. I thought he was a black guy.
That's what I'm saying, bro. This is why we do these type of videos, or I'm gonna start doing these type of videos, because clearly guys need educating.
Niggas be like, I know Pablo Escobar, but like, never raps.
Man needs to educate Donnie for real.
immediately evokes tales of unending wealth. And trust me when I say this, there is more truth than fiction in the tales. Escobar created the cartel in his 20s, in the city of Medellin, Colombia. Official records say that the organization generated over $20 billion annually, and most of the wealth was gained from illegal cocaine trade, a sprinkle of trafficking, political violence, and thuggery, and the shipping of criminally exotic materials. I'll leave the last part to your imagination. Now, if you're one of those naysayers who find it hard to believe the Medellin cartel was
20 billion. That's crazy. Off of drugs. Beautiful.
Man, to get class A, you know. Nah, I'm joking.
You look like you take class A, my boy.
that rich, I'll let you know that Pablo was not the only official billionaire that operated under the Medellin cartel. Number 9. Camorra. How does an organization that has no central head amass $4.9 billion? That's a question that would most likely be difficult to answer from your couch.
I need to be working.
For those in the Camorra cartel, it is pretty simple. Legacy, respect, and structure. Founded and currently still existent in Italy, the Camorra cartel was formed in the early 1600s. They started as a loose association of different criminals with nothing to lose, devoted
Why have they not said where they're from yet? That's what I like knowing. I like knowing where they're from.
From Russia or Russia.
to one simple
Colombia.
goal, the accumulation of wealth. By the 1800s, politicians gave this organized association of criminals the needed arsenal to overthrow the existing
Leonardo da Vinci seems to have encrypted the Great Pyramid of Giza into the Vitruvian Man, along with
monarchy. After being part of such a monumental shift in history, the Camorra cartel began to shift its focus from wealth to
They
power.
look like they're from me.
Amassing power is
England,
not a
fam.
problem, but when you combine that with illegal operations such as gambling, trafficking, and counterfeiting, the government will come after you. And that is exactly what happened. But by that time, it was already too late.
Where do you think Dookies are from? They look very British, but they're probably American. American.
The Camorra cartel had already gone international, and it now holds considerable power in Italy, holding a vice grip on the waste
Italians.
management systems in Naples. Not
No,
too bad
Italians
for a
are on.
400-year-old.
Italians are on still. I lagged. I lagged still. I should have said Italia. Italy.
criminal organization. Number 8. Sinaloa cartel. Drug business is a profitable business. Everyone knows this. Even
Colombia.
the CIA. After talking about the incredible exploits of the Medellin cartel, we thought it would be fitting to shine a light on the cartel that took its place as the largest cartel in the world.
Told you.
The notorious Sinaloa cartel.
Told you. I know.
Official
I know. I was
records say
there.
that this criminal organization rakes in at
Don't
least
care,
$3
bro.
billion.
What do you mean all of them? It's only been two.
For the first one,
Second one, and this is the third one.
Yeah, exactly. So
Exactly,
if
so
you say Colombia
two.
for each one, you're gonna get it correct somehow.
So two. So
No.
I'm calm.
No, you're cheating. Then.
Yeah. So I got 2 out of 3.
I say Colombia
Annually. But I find that figure incredibly small.
lit.
And here's
I'm
why.
mad.
Firstly, the Sinaloa cartel is currently one of the largest in the world, and it controls 60% of the drug revenues. So, the first question is, what is the value of the drug market? Well, depending on who you ask, it is anywhere between $6.5 billion and $500 billion. The range is so wide that no one knows for sure how much is being made. However, everyone is sure of one thing. The Sinaloa cartel owns and controls more than half of it. The cartel was created by El Chapo Guzman, whose life is...
So technically, yeah, Colombia's just got they've just birthed some real drug dealers from like real life ones.
I think it's because they have an easy plug in.
Man said El Chapo came from them, and Pablo Escobar came from them. 2 of the most known drug dealers ever. Crazy.
interesting enough to have a separate video.
Those don't
And
know
if you've
nothing.
been a
That's
fan
how you
of The
just
Fugitive,
start out
you know
right now.
I have done several videos on the man. He's been able to control the cartel from jail and on the run. Even if you hate what he has built, you have to respect his leadership qualities. Number 7. Ndrangheta. There is no doubt that
Ndrangheta.
Italy is in a long-term relationship with organized crime, and it's not just a Hollywood thing. You might not have heard of them as Ndrangheta, but they are one of the most vital members of the
Rome.
global network of the Italian mafia. And how much do they make? On paper, $4.5 billion. But once again, I think that's probably conservative, and I'll tell you why. The Ndrangheta is an Italian mob that was established in the 19th century in Calabria. Their major element of trade was and still is cocaine, and over the years they have become one of Europe's most dominant cocaine traffickers. However, it doesn't end there. What makes this organization extra special is the fact that they have managed to maintain good
Yeah, in
relationships
every country
with
you
other
can buy
criminal
their feds,
organizations.
just not in
Often they will
England.
choose compromise before taking the route of violence. This
And
has
probably
made them
America- and
allies
some places
rather
in
than
America.
enemies, as well as incredibly tough cases to crack.
Like in Jamaica, man can just pay you off, bro. Like I could shoot someone, bow. And if my man saw me, I can just pay them and be like, keep it stepping.
Law enforcement agencies. In recent times, the 200-year-old criminal organization has entered into money laundering, investing money into legal businesses to wash their endless funds. If you have a startup idea and you don't mind the source of their wealth, then you could give them a call. Number 6. Yamaguchi-gumi. You might not have heard of the
I gotta get-
Yamaguchi-gumi, but you have definitely heard of the Yakuza. They are Japan's equivalent of the Italian mafia. And just as Kamora is part of the Italian mafia, Yamaguchi-gumi is part of the Japanese Yakuza.
He's Italian too.
So, let's dive into this. Anyone that knows the Yakuza in Japan knows that they are one of the most principled criminal organizations in the world.
I don't know
They are
if
so
Japanese
strict
people
that
did
if you
cocaine.
break one of their rules or laws, you're expected to undergo an atonement ritual called the yubitsume, which practically means you'll have to cut off a little finger to prove how sorry you are. The largest syndicate under the Yakuza umbrella is the Yamaguchi-gumi, and it was founded in 1916 by Harukichi Yamaguchi. Today, they have at least
Bro, let's man tired.
20,400
No cap,
active
fam. Where's the
members
energy?
and
The nerd.
18,600 associated members. Most of their money comes from extortion, gambling, the sex industry, arms and drug trafficking, stock market manipulation, and internet pornography. It is said that the syndicate generates at least $6.6 billion yearly. Of course, I think it is definitely
You're
way
a
more
sick
than
man,
that.
bro. You
Number
had to be
5,
18 to go in anyway.
Solntsevskaya Bratva. You shouldn't be surprised that Russia has its own mafia. The Solntsevskaya Bratva is the
Russia.
largest.
You didn't say Russia, did you? You didn't say, you said Germany.
So,
You said Germany. Huh? But what do you think about it so far? Did you know that like this much money was in the drug business?
I didn't know billions. So I flip.
Hey, you lot, let me know in the comments here if you lot knew like the drug industry as a whole is like a multi-billion. It's probably it's a multi-trillionaire company.
The most powerful mafia in Russia and brings in an estimated annual income of $8.5 billion. From contract killing to money laundering to drug dealing, there's hardly anything that this Russian mafia subsidiary
Love for
doesn't
following.
do. You wouldn't be wrong to say that they have their hands in every pie. Unlike the Yakuza, which is highly centralized with a clear chain of command, this organization has something uniquely different. The group has 9,000 members that are divided into 10 separate, almost independent brigades that operate more or less on their own. However, when they have to work
9,000 members, bro. How the flip are you having a gang with 9,000 people?
Bro, like they don't play all cousins.
Potentially.
together, they pool their resources and do exactly that.
Slovakia.
Their money is overseen by a 12-person council that meets regularly in different parts of the world, often disguising their meetings as festive occasions. And you thought fiction was stranger than reality. Number 4, D Company.
That's their
How
black
many people talk about India when they bring up a list of organized crime? How many?
That's a D
I'm
company,
thinking
bro.
probably
I feel
none.
like-
Maybe it's a lack of
feel like
research,
D
or
block.
maybe it's because most people
America
don't bother
or
to
something, I
look.
don't know.
Either way, it pays Dawood Ibrahim if D Company stays under the radar because he
I didn't know
is
if
currently
even
number 3 on the FBI's
Indian
most
people do
wanted
coke-
list for
even
his
cocaine
support
either.
of terrorism. His criminal organization was created in Mumbai in the 70s, and it served to ship around heroin and opium, but with time it expanded to supporting and funding Al-Qaeda. The criminal organization makes at least
So
6
Al-Qaeda is run by drug dealers. So that's where they got all their waps from and bombs and whatever.
Yeah, I already knew that still.
That's how they can afford it. I didn't know that, moms. And I know you didn't know it because you're
I did,
a
I
goldfish.
did geography, innit?
You didn't know that. Stop lying.
Thompson's geography.
So you knew Al-Qaeda was funded by drug dealers?
Yeah, of course.
Cap.
$7 billion
You didn't even
yearly.
know.
And this amount
No, it's
is
not lying.
hearsay because Dawood has been pretty good
Love
at
for the
covering his
follow.
tracks. Good enough that since
Remember
he
doing
masterminded the
drill reactions
1993
after
Mumbai
this?
bomb blast, neither Interpol, the CIA, nor the FBI have been able to find him. He is still controlling his criminal empire from the shadows. Number 3,
Smart
La
guy.
Cosa Nostra. Can you hear
Spain.
the soundtrack of The Godfather in the background?
You guys know how it is when you buy a new Mac. It's super fast at first, and then pretty soon after, it starts to slow down. That's probably
Spanish, man. Spanish or French, one of the two.
I can. When it comes to criminal organizations, there is hardly any that is as popular and admired as Cosa Nostra, often referred to simply as the Mafia.
Spanish.
The group had its humble origins in the
no,
1800s
they're
in
Italian, innit?
Sicily, Italy. Legend has it that it
Yeah.
started as a prison gang that had a semblance of the same structure and values that the modern-day mafia still has. Over the years, Cosa Nostra moved from prisons and villages to more influential places of power, thanks in part to the political instability of the times. They worked hand in hand with opposing government factions to
Ooh.
carry out assassinations and other forms
Yeah.
of sabotage. Then, the mad tyrant Mussolini came into power and proved too violent for even the mafia bosses. So, they fled to the US and Canada to continue their operations. Extortion, gambling, prostitution, money laundering, the list is endless. Cosa Nostra has a global membership strength of at least 25,000 members and 250,000 affiliates. All
What the flip? That's like a whole country, fam.
That's a whole country, more like a town or something. That's a whole country. You smoking.
Bro, it's true, fam. That could be like a whole country, fam.
What kind of bum down country is that from? That's the third world country you're talking about.
raking in a cumulative amount of around $50 billion. Number 2, Gulf Cartel. As one of the oldest criminal organizations in Mexico, the Gulf Cartel deserves its place on this list. With their base firmly entrenched in Mexico, the group traffics drugs throughout the United States
Same
and
one with
even
the
into
Bandwagon.
Europe. Aside from drugs, they are particularly known for their high-profile kidnappings and extreme violence. They also seem to have a finger in almost every pie, dabbling in everything and anything criminal that they can lay their hands on. Out of all the cartels, including the Sinaloa,
Hey, my man looks familiar, fam. I seen Dookie, bro. He might be in my class, bro.
He's like 35 years old.
I think so. He looks very familiar for me. No, he's definitely my class, fam. 100%. I know what I'm talking about.
they have suffered the most at the hands of anti-drug agencies, and yet they have survived. Today, they are still worth around $9.9 billion, remaining one of the richest criminal syndicates operating primarily from Mexico. Number 1, the Triads. The Triads are the most established,
boys.
most terrifying criminal
My
organization
boys.
to exist in a long time. They operate from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, but they have expanded to South Africa, the US, Britain, South America, and Russia. Their major trade is human trafficking, and they move at least 100,000 people around the
I
world.
don't know who that
yearly.
is.
It is insane. Other criminal activities that they run include drug transportation, racketeering, and other varieties of crime that
That's a
suit their fancy.
racketeering from there. Really
They are mostly
active.
decentralized, and this is why it has been so difficult to dissolve them. A low-level member of the triad could easily be mistaken for a boss. They allowed a lot of autonomy, and no one knows for sure how their money moves. We just know that they have a load of it. Some have said $13 billion, and others have pointed at larger figures, but no one will ever know because of how loose and secretive
Do you
the
know what makes
organization
sense?
is. Click a video on the screen if you'd like more content like this, and I'll see.
I'm pretty sure that it was meant to count down in like stages of like the richest and that. Fam,
I think it's because
man heard 250 billion to 13 billion. That doesn't make no sense, bro. Someone can't count.
Back out, slap it out, short but I bang like Pacquiao. Man just ping it or ching it. If I ain't did it, I still bring back out. Kyle's probably hit squad baby, hit squad crazy, rip man's.